Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, Goliad County commissioners are hitting pause on selling the Fannin Monument. Find out what's next as they gather public input and weigh the options. Plus, Union Pacific is closing some railroad crossings in Bloomington to expand tracks. Find out what it means for residents and school bus routes. Plus, Victoria College is celebrating 100 years of shaping futures. Find out how the school's mission is still going strong after a century of education.
Well, we can't figure out if it's summer, winter, or fall, or because we're looking at summer type temperatures getting up into the 90s this week. So yes, abundant sunshine, but also warming weather and fire danger. We'll be talking about that coming up in a moment.
Experts are raising the alarm as diagnosis of colorectal cancer in young adults soar. Find out what's driving the rise and the warning signs you need to know. You're watching 25 News Now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Shawna Currie. Goliad County commissioners are hitting pause on selling the Fannin Monument behind the Presidio La Bahia. If the monument is sold to the Texas Historical Commission, one possible plan for the money would be to build a youth sports complex in Goliad. The commissioners are planning town hall meetings to get public input before making a decision. Residents are divided. Some want the county to keep the monument, while others think the Texas Historical Commission would do a better job maintaining the site. Coming up tonight at 10, we will hear more about the future options for the monument. And this brings us to our viewer poll today. Do you support transferring the Fannin Monument in exchange for a new sports complex? Yes, preserving history and boosting tourism is a good idea, or no, the county should retain ownership of the monument, or I'm undecided and need more information. We want to hear from you. Visit crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. And 77% of voters right now feel that the county should retain ownership of the monument and continue the upkeep on that. So continue voting. We'll have the latest numbers on 25 News Now at 6. Well, crews will be making repairs, and that means a couple temporary closures. These are road repairs. Today through Thursday, Wagner Way will be closed between Vine Street and Lingo Lane. Then Wednesday through Saturday, Vine Street will be shut down between Main Street and Wagner Way. Businesses and homes in the area will still be accessible, but if you're just passing through, you might want to find a detour to avoid delays. Keep in mind these dates could shift depending on the weather and other factors. Well, some railroad crossings are closing in Bloomington as Union Pacific expands the tracks there. Union Pacific is asking to close the railroad crossings at Levi Road and Phillips Road to store unused rail cars. Precinct 1 County Commissioner Danny Garcia says this will affect some residents and school bus routes. So county officials are working with Union Pacific to find a solution.
They would cover and help us create an alternate route from Bloomington to Placido mostly for the bus routes and the schools to get through back and forth on a paved road. And so they've agreed to fund that project for us.
Garcia says the total cost of upgrading the current unpaved Key Road is $3.2 million. Union Pacific Railroad and TxDOT have agreed to fund the road upgrade. Construction is scheduled to begin early this fall. Well, now let's go outside with a first look at our forecast. And Mac, today was absolutely gorgeous, but like you were saying earlier, we're not really sure what season we're in. It was cold this morning and then sunny and warm this afternoon. So
exactly. I mean, it was chilly yesterday. Well, let's go back. It was hot on Saturday. Then late in the day, the cold front blew through. It was cold, not cold dry air, but dry air dropped the temperature into the 30s. So sweater, no sweater. Well, let me tell you, the rest of the week, no sweater. In fact, swimming trunks would be more advisable because we're looking at temperatures pushing the low 90s later this week. We'll be talking about that and, of course, the fire danger coming up in a moment.
Well, spring break is almost here. For some, it actually started today. South Padre Island is gearing up for the crowds there. Officials say they are seeing more families and fewer college students in recent years, but it's still a busy time. With thousands of people expected, extra police patrols and help from local agencies will be in place. Fire Chief Jim Pigg says accidents tend to rise, so Beach Patrol and lifeguards will be ready to respond.
We have coordination calls with the hospitals, other EMS agencies that are coming in to help us. We have the community center where we have set up for a triage station. If we do get busy, we can house patients in the triage area.
While smaller spring break crowds have caused a dip in business in recent years, warmer weather has made up for it this year. Everyone from law enforcement to businesses are prepared to welcome the mix of families and college kids for Spring Break 25. Victoria College is hanging up its centennial banners as it marks a century of higher education. Victoria College first opened on February 4th, 1925. Marketing and Communications Director Darren Casimir says the college's mission has always been clear: to improve lives and strengthen communities. And after 100 years, he says that vision is still going strong.
Victoria College is excited to be celebrating our 100th anniversary this year, and we've been recently installing new light pole banners around campus as one way to commemorate this milestone.
Casimir says celebration events will be held throughout the year. Texas's DOGE committee takes inspiration from Elon Musk's federal operation. The new legislative panel has been tasked to reduce the size and scope of government, but Democrats say they're not interested in replicating Musk's slash and burn approach. To read this full Texas Tribune article, visit our website, crossroadstoday.com. Well, this is National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and experts say more young adults are being diagnosed with this disease worldwide. In fact, over the past 30 years, cases of young onset colorectal cancer have increased by more than 50%, according to the Colorectal Cancer Alliance. A recent study finds 3 main factors are increasing the risk of the disease. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither talks to one of the researchers.
It's a troubling trend. New cases of colorectal cancer in people under age 50 have been rising at an alarming rate over the past several decades, and by 2030, it's expected to become the leading cancer-related cause of death for people ages 20 to 49.
We've always thought of colorectal cancer as a disease that mostly affects older people, and over the last couple of decades, we've seen the age for colorectal cancer go down.
Dr. David Liska with Cleveland Clinic says it's still not clear why, but says 3 main factors can increase a person's risk of developing colorectal cancer: having a sedentary lifestyle, having obesity, and eating a diet high in red or processed meats.
I also have plenty of patients, unfortunately, with colorectal cancer who are young and healthy and fit and don't smoke and don't drink and eat a healthy diet and still get colorectal cancer. So while we know some of the risk factors, we don't know all of them.
Liska says everyone should be aware of the 4 signs more commonly reported in people who develop colorectal cancer: abdominal pain, rectal bleeding, diarrhea, and iron deficiency anemia.
One of the important things to realize is that colorectal cancer is very treatable, and if caught early, it's in most cases curable.
The best way to detect and prevent colorectal cancer is screening. It's recommended for everyone at average risk, beginning at age 45. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
People at higher risk of developing colorectal cancer may need to talk to their doctor about being screened even earlier. That includes people with a family history of colorectal cancer, those with an underlying disease like ulcerative colitis or inflammatory bowel disease, or anyone with a genetic condition that predisposes people to the disease. Tuesday marks the 5th anniversary of the coronavirus being classified as a pandemic. That designation came after the World Health Organization had determined the outbreak was an international public health emergency. The last pandemic had been in 2009's H1N1 flu, which claimed hundreds of thousands of lives across the world. As of June 2024, nearly 1.2 million people in the U.S. died from COVID-19, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Stay with us. Straight ahead on 25 News now at 5. The threats of additional tariffs are causing a lot of economic uncertainty today. Plus, a packed town hall in Texas had people speaking out on major concerns. We'll take a look at what's at stake and what leaders had to say coming up. Tanker carrying jet fuel caught fire and started leaking in the North Sea after colliding with a cargo ship off northeast England. Rescue teams, including helicopters and lifeboats, responded quickly. 32 crew members were brought ashore and taken to the hospital. Their conditions are unclear. The tanker, Stena Immaculate, was on a short-term charter to the U.S. Navy. Investigations are ongoing. President Trump is threatening additional tariffs on major trading partners. Canada is pushing back with tariffs on American goods, even threatening to withhold electricity from across the border. The back and forth is triggering major economic uncertainty. ABC's Christiane Cordero has details from Washington.
President Trump has called tariffs one of his favorite words, but today, even the threat of them being imposed is sending uncertainty to the stock market and store checkout lines. Trump's hesitant to rule out a recession this year, asking Americans to be patient.
Oh, I think the tariffs are going to be the greatest thing we've ever done as a country. It's going to make our country rich again.
The president imposed then paused a 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico last week. He now vows a 25% tariff will kick in on Wednesday against all foreign steel and aluminum. He has also promised reciprocal tariffs on countries who retaliate with tariffs of their own. The European Union has been in conversations with the U.S. to try to avert tariffs. Its commissioner claims U.S. officials aren't as interested.
We jointly identified a few areas that would allow us to move forward by fostering mutual benefits. But in the end, as it said, one hand cannot clap.
And Canada, which just elected its new prime minister, has enacted $30 billion of retaliatory tariffs on American imports, including orange juice, peanut butter, and appliances. The province of Ontario today slapped a 25% price increase on electricity it exports to 1.5 million Americans in New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. That's an extra cost of at least $200,000 a day.
If the Trump administration falls through on any more tariffs, we will not hesitate to shut off their power as well.
Moody's chief economist tells ABC News this year started with a recession risk at around 15% and is now 35% and rising. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro held a town hall this weekend, drawing over 1,000 people to Our Lady of the Lake University in San Antonio. The big concern was cuts to social programs under the Trump administration. Castro addressed layoffs at the VA and shared his thoughts, while veterans, students, and seniors spoke out about their worries for the future. Last month, President Trump was asked about Medicaid cuts and said he's promised not to reduce Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security.
We are looking at the burn bans that are up around Texas, and as you can see, I'm zooming in here, we are looking at most of the counties to the west of us being under burn bans, and it's not going to improve the situation over the next couple of days. We'll take a look at your forecast coming up in a moment. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Lots of sunshine. Yes, it's a beautiful day. We can't deny that, but later on, if this doesn't change, I call it a beautiful disaster because we need to get some sort of rain going. It's very dry. Things haven't greened up just yet. And therefore, we're in a high fire danger because the winds are going to pick up later this week. So, yeah, a lovely day. It was a little chilly this morning, I will admit. I had to go back and get a light jacket. 74 is the current temperature. Winds are very light and almost non-existent. We did get down to 35 this morning, and 74 was our high, which is right about, well, almost where we're supposed to be. The thing is, for the next few days, we're going to see a big warm-up. Now, if you go back a little bit to Friday, Saturday, it was warm and humid. Then on Saturday night, that whole big frontal system blew through and cleared everything out and gave us this very dry atmosphere that we have over our area right about now. This is going to be increasing in humidity. You can see it right there along the immediate coastline as the air slowly rolls back in. So that's going to help not only warm us up, bring us back some of that humidity, and then eventually we're having to watch to the west because out here, southwest winds are going to be fairly strong over the next couple of days as this area of low pressure starts rolling across basically I-10. You know, it's going to be going through California, then Arizona. It is going to be the next frontal system to move through here, but it's just not going to have any kind of moisture to deal with. Now, here's our drought monitor. You can see dry, moderately dry, severe dry, extreme drought, okay? So it looks pretty good here in Victoria as we've got dry to moderate. The problem is that we have to look upstream at the watershed of the Guadalupe, which is in the hill country. And if it doesn't rain up there, and it hasn't, we get nothing flowing downstream. Remember, I mean, Guadalupe starts in the hill country, goes into Canyon Lake, which is very dry. And then below that is the Guadalupe down into our region. So, you know, I wish we could get something going, but it just doesn't look likely in the next few days. Now, these are fire weather watches, as you see right about there. What's the difference between that and a red flag warning is that this one doesn't have winds in excess of 35 miles an hour. So it's still dry, arid, and of course, we here are going to be seeing some of that Gulf moisture roll back in slowly, and that's going to help us out. But get a load of this. 80 tomorrow, then 83, and then 90 and 91. Yeah, it's summertime. Well, you know, it's spring break, so I guess some people are going to enjoy that. We are looking at tonight's temperatures not quite as cold. Instead of 35, will be 47 because of that return Gulf air. And then tomorrow, yep, lots of sunshine. A beautiful day, really. If you need to be out, 80 degrees and low humidity will be the ticket for you. And then we take a look at our big map. And there's really nothing moving in our direction. So we'll take a look at tomorrow's forecast and Port Lavaca. Lots of sunny skies and temperatures getting up to about 78, almost 80 degrees. In Cuero, you're getting up to about 82. Abundant sunshine as well. No real changes for us. The frontal system that's coming in is not going to get here till Friday night. And so it's going to give us a cooling down of about 5 degrees. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads a day on your phone. Shawna, back to you.
All right, there really is no in-between, Mac. We go from the cold right to the 90s. All right, well, coming up next, high prices and high interest rates have led to a housing affordability crisis. A look at the different loan options that can help. Concerns about President Trump's economic policy led to a widespread market sell-off today. It started early with all three major indices opening sharply in the red. U.S. stocks slid throughout the day, but despite a brief afternoon rally, still closed in the red. Here's a closer look at the numbers. The Dow closed down 890 points, the S&P 500 lost 156 points, and the Nasdaq lost 728 points. Oil is down $1.05 to $65.95 per barrel. Concerns about the economy are growing, with more Americans losing confidence in the job market. That's according to the latest Consumer Expectations Survey from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Many believe inflation isn't easing and expect even bigger financial struggles next year. The number of people worried about missing minimum debt payments is at its highest since April 2020 during the pandemic. The survey is based on responses from 1,300 people. A new study shows employee burnout is costing American businesses big time. Researchers from the SUNY Graduate School of Public Health found burnout can drain employers of up to $5 million a year in lost productivity, like missed workdays. The study reveals that burnout costs $4,000 for non-managerial employees, $10,000 for managers, and over $20,000 for executives. For a company with 1,000 employees, that adds up fast. Signs of burnout include dropped performance, missed deadlines, and more mistakes. Experts say focusing on employee health could help reduce these costs and boost profits. The social media platform X was hit by outages today. According to outage tracking site Down Detector, the problems began around 6 a.m. Eastern Time. That's when about 20,000 users reported problems. The issues temporarily died down before nearly 40,000 users reported outages at about 4 hours later. The outage appeared to be global, with many users on Down Detector saying the app wouldn't load. Ex-owner Elon Musk claimed the platform was hit by a massive cyber attack. Well, fewer people are buying homes. The National Association of Realtors says pending home sales dropped 4.6% in January. That's an all-time low. Experts say there are programs out there to make buying more affordable. In today's Consumer Watch, Jen Sullivan explains the different loan options.
The American dream of owning a home has become much more challenging. Experts say high prices and high interest rates have led to a housing affordability crisis.
That goal is seemingly so far away from many people.
Bankrate recently conducted a survey among aspiring homeowners and found 81% said a down payment and closing costs are an obstacle to owning a home.
These are tough times for people.
According to the most recent data from the National Association of Realtors, the median existing home sale price in January was $396,900. Many loan companies require a 20% down payment for a mortgage, which means a buyer would need to put down about $80,000 for a home that price. But there are other options for buyers.
There are programs out there where people can get a 10% down payment, even a 3% down payment.
One option is a Federal Housing Administration loan, known as an FHA loan. This government program helps low to moderate income families buy a home with as little as 3.5% down, depending on your credit score. The Department of Veterans Affairs also has programs to help veterans and their families buy a home. But Hamrick cautions that putting less down means higher monthly costs.
You're financing the rest of the purchase, so that means that your commitment for the financing is a bigger sum of money.
Hamrick also says potential homebuyers need to budget for monthly insurance costs, taxes, and home repairs. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Well, still to come, grab your controller and power up. Today is all about a mustached hero who's been jumping into adventure for decades.
This week, rising prices, uncertainty, the state of the economy, where things stand, plus tracking the measles cases across the U.S. World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
get out your Game Boy or your PlayStation, whatever you use for those iconic games, because today marks National Mario Day. The day is set aside to pay tribute to Mario, the character that has delighted legions of fans for decades. Mario first appeared in a game called Donkey Kong in 1981. Nintendo portrayed Mario as a carpenter named Jumpman back then. And in 1983, Nintendo launched a new game. Jumpman reinvented himself as an Italian plumber who rescues princesses. And Mario continues to this day. More than 210 million copies of the Mario game series have been sold. That makes Mario one of the most popular video games of all times.
And do you remember the song?
Yes.
My kids play that so many millions of times. It's stuck in here.
I used to play Mario Kart, the race car game with my kids.
Yeah. It's all
Princess
a generational
Peach
thing.
and all of that. So lots of fun.
Of course, I go back to Pong.
Yes.
Atari Pong, which was way before even that. Anyway, folks, we are looking for some really warm weather. Today, we were only in the mid-70s with the abundant sun. Tomorrow, we'll get up to about 80. And yes, we are looking at 90 degrees for Thursday, Friday. And a weak front comes in, but it's a dry one. And it'll just continue the dry weather, although we'll be in the mid-80s next week.
90s already.
Already.
But you are keeping an eye on a cold front for next week, right?
In 12 days, there is a cold front coming in. It might actually knock us back down into the 60s.
Okay, so we'll be keeping an eye on that.
We'll keep our fingers crossed on that, see if that holds together.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. Our next newscast is in 30 minutes, right after World News Now with David Muir. We'll see you at 6.